Beginner bikes, let's go. What is a good beginner bike? My list should be a common bike. It should also be an affordable bike. So that basically means I'm telling you to buy Japanese. Now, Japanese engineering is probably the best on the planet. Like, they've got Six Sigma manufacturing, lean manufacturing, dialed in that it's almost 7 Sigma is what they strive for. For those not in the engineering world, basically means they really don't make things with a lot of defects. Anyway, an ideal beginner first bike for me is going to be between around, I would say, 300-ish, 400-ish cc's to around 800 cc's, and cc stands for cubic centimeter. It's a quantification of the engine displacement or engine volume, how big the engine is. Ideally, your first bike should be or should have 2 cylinders or less. The more cylinders, the more horsepower the bike can produce, the higher it can rev up. So anyway, let's start from the very top of my favorite brand, Kawasaki. Now, Kawasaki was my first bike. I got a Kawasaki Z650. Love that bike a lot. So number one, Kawasaki Z650, Kawasaki Z400, and those bikes counterparts which have fairings, the Ninja 650 and the Ninja 400. These are amazing first bikes. They're very common to find. Parts are very cheap. Really good resale value if you want to upgrade. There's also the Ninja ZX4RR, which is brand new inline 4 engine bike that Kawasaki recently released. That has 4 cylinders, but again, you can't find those used. You're probably going to spend around 13 grand for that bike, whereas a Ninja 400 Z650, maybe 4 or 5 grand used. As far as the other big 3 Japanese manufacturers are concerned, besides Kawasaki, we have Yamaha. Honestly, one of my favorite brands. I love the Yamaha R1. I love the R6. Those are not great beginner bikes, however. I would say my favorite sort of beginner bike that Yamaha manufactures has to be the MT-07. Older models are called the FZ-07. A little torquey for a beginner bike, but again, if you're a 200-pound dude like I am, it's a perfect beginner bike. Very similar to the Z650. Anyway, I also didn't mention the MT-03 and the R3. These are also really great beginner first bike options. However, these don't have a lot of power, and as a bigger guy, you're going to get bored of these bikes very, very quickly. Don't get me wrong, they're fun. I've ridden R3s, amazing bikes. You're going to get bored quickly, and they don't have a lot of passing power on the highway. When I ride my bikes, I occasionally take the highway, and I do like to have some passing power. So there you go. From Yamaha, MT-07, maybe R3, MT-03. So we also got Honda and Suzuki. Honda, I would say the CBR 500R is like a perfect beginner first bike. It's really, the power is really manageable, great handling. Some people might say the Honda CBR 650R also could be a good bike. Also has a little bit more power than the CBR 500. But also, again, these bikes are very common. I see these bikes for sale all the time. The final bike is Suzuki SV650. Really similar to the Kawasaki Z650, except made by Suzuki. Amazing first bike. Like these bikes that I just mentioned, they could potentially be a forever bike. They have enough power to pass on the highway. They're also not too overpowered to where you might whiskey throttle it and send yourself into oblivion. Yeah, so anyway, to recap, from Kawasaki, Z650, Z400, Ninja 650, Ninja 400, Yamaha, MT-07, Suzuki, SV650, and Honda, CBR 500R. I know I'm definitely missing some good beginner bikes on here, but again, this is a list that I curated when I first started shopping for beginner bikes. There's a lot of research on the power, the characteristics of these bikes, the availability, how much these bikes cost, and basically these bikes that I just mentioned are going to be your best bet for a first bike that you won't grow out of quickly. So there you go.